Welcome back to episode 73?
74.
74.
Yeah.
I didn't have my glasses on.
Well, we also didn't change it on the computer screen, so always record.
Yeah.
Always record. Do you want me to stop and start over?
No, we can
Okay.
continue on.
You'll have to remember.
We decided to record in the evening. This is Saturday evening.
This Saturday.
February 22nd, I believe. Because sometimes during the day when we start doing this, our cat Gordy starts to cry and then jumping all over the place.
She just bolted out of the room.
So now we decided she was sound asleep not long ago while we were eating dinner, and I was like, perfect, she's going to be so well behaved and everything. And then she came, jumped up here, and then we kept our door open, and now she just tore out of here. So we'll
Pardon
see
me
what
while I
happens.
move furniture around.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We shall see.
How was everybody's week? We'll wait.
Yes. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. We had a good week. We were both off on Monday, so that was a good way to start the week of not having to work.
Yes, I like not having to work.
If it was a 4-day work week every week, that would be. But not having to work 4 10-hour days, 4 8-hour days, and a day off would be fantastic.
4 1-hour days?
How about 1 1-hour day?
How about let's retire? I was showing off, if you're listening on the audio, I was showing off my gigantic University of Illinois water bottle that our daughter got for me for some Father's Day, birthday, something many years back. And it's giant.
And
it's filled with vodka.
Did you want any stickers to go on yours?
I would love some stickers. Jennifer has a giant pink mug with stickers all over it.
Yes.
Water.
Inspirational words.
Inspirational quotes.
Follow your dreams. They know the way.
This is the vision board podcast.
Is that what we should put on there?
Yeah. Well, we should put your vision board up there.
I should put my vision board on there.
If you're listening, when we tape it, we have kind of a blank wall behind us. Although it is a bright color.
I don't mind it actually.
No,
when we bought this house, it's like one of those things where, when the style was just like have just one accent wall, just one thing. So every bedroom except for one has an accent wall on it. So it is kind of like weird because my initial thought was like, I don't think I want to keep that, kind of thing. But actually, this color has grown on me.
What would you do? Because some people may not be watching. How would you describe this color?
I describe it as a dark coral.
I was going to say coral,
we
were on the same.
Okay, that's good. It's not red, and we don't have natural light right now because it's at night. But it is a nice color, but it's kind of bare for those watching back here. So we were just thinking like what kind of art or decor we could put there back.
And we could put a different thing on every week, and then people who watch the videos would have to guess the theme or guess what it refers to.
Well, we watch a lot of House Hunters, and my favorite part is when they have so much artwork of everything that you can imagine of inspirational words.
It's always the inspirational words.
It is.
And a lot of times it's not even just like a framed thing.
Yeah, gather, eat.
A lot of times it's, the script on the wall, which I refer to as white people graffiti.
Yes.
Although I'm sure there are non-white people who occasionally do that too, but it just always strikes me as something you see,
Blessed.
Blessed. In this home.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right. We hug, we say sorry, we inspire.
We've often joked, and I shouldn't give this away because it's $1 million idea and someone else will steal it from us now, but imagine that I'm copywriting imagine the C in the circle. But we always talk about how we should do that kind of thing, make little signs with inspirational quotes, only they'd be all cursing.
Yes.
Like, F those guys, And
F the day.
Yeah, that would be a good one, actually. And we'd probably make lots and lots of money. Now someone will listen to this. Good thing no one listens.
That's true. That means we can still keep that idea.
We can air out our ideas without anyone pirating them from us.
Well, one thing that I was disappointed about this week was the frigid temperatures, and we did not get to walk outside Monday through Friday.
That's true.
So for those of you who don't know, we are avid walkers, and we have started a tradition. It's been going on for a really long time of getting up before work and walking before work 40 minutes. And there's a trail by our house. We go and my favorite part is when the sun is coming up and the
Yeah.
sunrise, and it's like beautiful and everything. But it was literally like too cold to even try to walk, so we had to work out inside.
On Monday, I want to say it was -9 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And even though since we had the day off, we could have gone later in the day, it never got much above 0.
Yeah.
We're talking about Fahrenheit for you who might be overseas.
Yeah, watching us from Dublin.
Or in any normal
Ireland friends.
any normal part of the world where they use the metric system.
So today was the first day we actually got outside to walk, and it was glorious.
It was very nice. Actually, it was really nice.
I literally could have walked for like 2 hours. I could have walked and up and.
Well, I couldn't because I'm old and had to use the bathroom. But you know
that probably would happen to me too. So if there was a place to step in to use the bathroom or walk back to our house, use the bathroom, and then go back out again, we could have done that.
We could have used the porta potties in the park near our house.
Yes.
Although I don't know if they're maintained in the wintertime.
Yeah,
to be
I
honest
don't even
with
know.
you. I don't know.
That's a good question.
But it's right down it's like on the corner of our block, so it's not really saving you any time. You can just go to the house instead.
Right.
But it's there if you need it, which is always reassuring.
If it's an emergency situation, it is always there.
Yes.
But looking ahead, I saw that the temperatures were going to be 30s at 6 a.m., so that is going to be fine.
And we posted a little video on our Instagram.
We did.
Of not of our whole walk, but from our walk.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
At Jen_Dave.
Nope.
No.
Nope. I got it wrong. I was doing a thing on my Instagram, and I totally botched it as well. We do this all the time. We've had this Instagram account
for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was,
Jen_and_Dave.
Right. But we had that. We started that Instagram early in the pandemic because we were bored and we recorded little videos.
That's it right there for those who are watching.
However, I think it's gonna. Well, no, I think since we're using my phone to do the video, I think it'll be not mirror image. I think it'll be correctly.
We always link it in our
and then you can tell
anyway.
my Clash shirt, which says "Guns of Brixton" across the thing.
But
one of the few songs, by the way, that bass player Paul Simonon sang instead of just playing bass.
I was not aware of that.
Yes. And when they performed it live, he didn't like playing bass and singing. So Joe Strummer would play bass and Paul Simonon would play rhythm guitar. So if you ever see a picture of a concert, a Clash concert, and you see Joe Strummer playing bass, it's almost certainly Guns of Brixton that they're playing.
Okay, that is some good facts right there.
Little Clash trivia for you.
Clash trivia. That's hard to say. Why did he not want to play?
He just was uncomfortable playing bass and singing for some reason. So he found it easier to play guitar. Rhythm guitar.
I mean, it does take more. I mean, anybody who's a musician is talented, but to be able to sing and play at the same time, I think is a good key to have.
And they always tell you that when you're taking guitar lessons early on, they always say, if you're familiar, especially if you're familiar with the song, sing it while you play it because it does make sense because then you know the rhythm, you're not going to go too fast or too slow, where the chord changes are and all that. If you're thinking about the whole song, especially if it's one you're familiar with,
right?
I'm no good at it. I got a lousy voice anyway, but even that's not really the problem. The problem is it's just like one too many things to do at the same time.
It is. It's like clapping and
I posted a video one time when I was screwing around with some Bruce Springsteen song and I would just play the chords and someone in the comments was like, why weren't you singing? I'm like, A, you don't want me to, and 2, it's a little too much. My brain will short circuit if I try to do too many things at the same time.
So we did a little bit of pre-vacation clothes shopping today, which was a success. We are about to celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary. Counting down the days, basically. This month is another month that is going by way too fast.
Way too fast. And it's a short month.
It is. So our wedding anniversary is March 11th. And so we had planned, and we've mentioned this before, but we had planned a 25th wedding anniversary getaway. But it was April of 2020. So even though we had gotten the notice, bring your stuff home for 2 weeks, you're working from home for 2 weeks, obviously we knew that was a lie. And everyone was home for much longer than that. So our trip got canceled. And so this time around, well, I had mentioned I really want to go someplace warm, which is actually fortuitous that this winter has been so utterly cold. That is, sometimes we have very mild, winters where it's like not that big of a deal. We didn't have a lot of snow this year, although the snow on the ground is not melted since it's been so cold. But anything, and I want to mention something about that too. Anyway, I'm like so happy because I am like literally, I don't think I can last another month without having some warmth on my face. So we're really looking forward to that. And so we are gearing up and we're starting to pack right now.
We are. And we did go and I'm not going to say where we went because some people are boycotting this particular store and I empathize with them, but sometimes your options are limited.
Yes.
We won't go into that, but I don't want to start a controversy one way or the other. But we did, and it was surprisingly easy to find.
It was a coupe.
It was a coupe. It was a coupe, and there's the smudgeness. We don't just randomly quote lines from Seinfeld. We also randomly quote lines from The Office.
Yes. And you're just going to have to catch up with that. But yeah, one thing that, speaking of the snow before it melts, is we're trying this tomorrow and I'm so excited. I can't wait. Is I had seen somebody that said, your indoor cats have never touched snow. And I was just like, what? And so they had like a bin, like a big bin that they filled with snow and put in their, put on the floor and everything. And the cats jumped in there and they were touching it and licking their paws and jumping on it and doing all sorts of things. So I'm so excited to try that tomorrow because I just don't even know what they're going to do.
We should, if it's interesting, they actually react. We'll do it. We'll take a little video and we'll post it.
We will post it.
The only problem is then we'll post the video of this podcast. Then we'll post a video of the cats. All the people will watch the video of the cats. This podcast will get no traction.
Yes.
So
you could say like
it's the old thing about you don't want to perform with children or animals because they'll upstage
or we could say
you.
We have a surprise video at the end of this. Listen to it all, and then you're going to get a big surprise.
We didn't plan that out though. And there's Gordy, fortunately not in the room where we record, but still crying. Yes. At least loud enough for me to hear it.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys probably did too. So yeah, it was a short week, so that was good, and just happy that things are going well. So we're gearing up for vacation, like we mentioned, and we are good travelers together. And I think that is maybe a key to a 30-year marriage.
Maybe.
That could be one of the things if you're looking for...
hopefully more than 30 years.
Well, and it's like you don't know how... because you don't really travel that much. We traveled before we got married, but, not like... We didn't go like overseas or anything like that, but we did travel, and I think this is a big key of a successful... trip going event kind of thing is if you both have the same kind of outlook on what a vacation is. There's some people who like to go on vacation and they've got it rigidly planned from the moment they get there. We're going to do this at 10 o'clock. We're going to do this at 3. We're going to, and it's just, I've made reservations here. And so you're just kind of like almost worn out, kind of like from being from a vacation where you think, oh, I'm going to go relax. And then somebody wants to plan everything. We do not do that for the most part. And it actually has always worked out for us. And I think that is just one of the things that is awesome about traveling with somebody who has the same kind of outlook is that it always works out. We do obviously look ahead to see like what can we do there when we get there. So it's not like we're going in blind and then once we land we're like, I guess we're gonna figure this out, kind of thing.
Like you found that Eagles flying place in County Sligo on our second trip to Ireland.
Yes.
And we went there and it was a bunch of children.
And going to Kinsale in Ireland. So that was also a Google search while we were there.
That's right.
Then I was just like, well, hey, this is a bus ride, so let's take a look at that.
And it's not like we go someplace and then just sit around the hotel bar or by the pool. We do stuff. It's just that we wing it.
We do. And we like talking to people, asking questions. I've already reached out to the hotel, that resort that we're staying at via Instagram.
That's because you're an influencer.
They know we're arriving, and they know it's a special occasion, so we hope to be upgraded to the best suite ever. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, that happens.
Nudge.
Yeah.
No, that's not how you... Hint.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Nudge is something entirely different. That's a Monty Python thing. I could go on using Monty Python references, but
I could say zero Monty Python.
No one would want to hear that.
But it is helpful, and we do we always have a great time, and we love walking and exploring while walking, kind of thing. Yeah. And we were just mentioning to somebody that we saw last night, some friends we went out, was saying that they were going to Ireland, and the last time we were there, we didn't even take an Uber anywhere. We walked the whole thing, and even if the restaurant was a mile and a half away, we're like, we could just walk there, kind of thing. We walked to that Sophia's rooftop,
we did.
And
we did.
It doesn't bother us to do that. So that is also lucky that we both like to walk and explore places. So that's a win.
Well, it is good. It is good to actually get some exercise when you're on vacation, because
it offsets the eating.
right? Because I'm not going to worry about what I'm eating.
Hell no.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna maybe have a beer in the middle of the afternoon and that kind of thing. It just you're only doing it once a year or maybe a couple times a year.
And why take the fun out of it?
Yeah,
if you're just like kind of worried about that and everything, and you're just like, well, I think I'll have chicken and with broccoli on the side. Nobody wants to go on vacation and eat food like that.
Unless it's good chicken.
Unless it's good chicken.
If it's like fried chicken.
Well, yeah, and if it's chicken tenders.
It's chicken tenders. Although I have to say, the one place in Dublin that we got the chicken tenders,
yeah,
not necessarily. It was a nice atmosphere. It was a kind of a old-timey kind of pub place, which is funny because a lot of those old-timey bars and pubs in Ireland actually have really good food because, they bring in a lot of money through the tourist trade, so they can afford to have a nice kitchen and actually put out good food. Plus, people are on vacation, so they're going to spend the money.
That is true.
I'm looking at the timer on our GarageBand thing that we used to record it. We've gone 17 and a half minutes without griping about Donald Trump or Elon Musk or anything like that.
That's a record.
That is a record. I will say, since you mentioned that we went out last night, one thing that's jumped out at me, there's a group of people that I've known, many of them since high school. One of them pointed out, which I had forgotten, that we were in fourth grade together, and then his family had moved to a different suburb, and then they moved back. I was thinking of him as just a high school friend, but he's absolutely right. I knew him in fourth grade.
Right.
But, and some of them are college friends and spouses and all this, but two of the people who were there, and I'm not going to go into details because it's their story and their opinions and whatnot. I don't want to, quote somebody or anything like that. But both of them have military experience. One of them is out of the military. Has been out of the military for some time. Another is still in the Air Force and has been in the Air Force for a very long time and is pretty high rank. But anyway, the point is, both of them were talking about their displeasure with the current state of affairs in Washington. And it's not for me to relate someone else's opinion, so I won't. But I find it interesting that it's not just, I jokingly refer, when I was having a conversation with one of these guys, I said, well, me, I'm a hippie, which isn't really true. I'm much more of a punk than a hippie. But anyway, but, the point is, it's not just people like me with zero military experience or whatever. It's, people from all different backgrounds are disturbed by what's happening.
Yes.
Which reminds me, by the way, and we won't call anybody out by name, but on our Instagram where we post the video, someone, we always invite comments.
Yes.
Leave us a comment. Well, somebody did, and that's okay. But their comment was, well, the majority of people voted for Trump, and we all think he's doing great, and they went on from there, and that's fine. And look, that's their opinion. That's cool. But they made a factual statement that's not true. They said the majority of people voted for Trump. That's not true. He didn't even get 50% of the vote.
Correct.
It was close. It was 49% and some change, but he didn't get 50% of the vote. So the majority of people who voted for candidates not named Trump by a pretty slim margin, but that's still the case. Right. And he did get more votes than Kamala Harris, and he won more states. And, I'm not saying it wasn't legitimate, but no, a majority of people did not vote for Trump. And you also have to consider that I looked this up, and I'll put a link in there, 90 million people, eligible voters, sat home. Yeah. 90 million.
Yeah.
That dwarfs his vote total. Obviously, it dwarfs Harris's vote total.
And can you imagine what the outcome would have been if those people had just shown up? Yeah. It would have been a completely different situation. I'm sure of it. And I think that I think that a lot of people who think like, oh, I'm not into politics, then they just like sit out and everything. Yeah. It's like, but
politics is into you, whether or not you're into politics, because it is going to affect your life. But the thing is though that, and you're right, and I don't want to interrupt you, but I do want to just finish the thought, is that to our friend who made the comment, no, the majority of Americans did not vote for Trump, not by a long shot. The majority of eligible voters didn't vote for Trump, not by a long shot. There's roughly 240 million eligible voters, and about 150 million people voted. So 90 million people just sat at home.
That's crazy.
But that's not an endorsement of Donald Trump. Obviously not an endorsement of Kamala Harris either, but it's certainly not an endorsement of Donald Trump. I don't understand why anybody sits at home, but regardless, my point is just that, with all due respect, do a little research before you make a comment like that. Is this just not true? Voters don't equal the entirety of America, and the people who actually vote don't even equal the entirety of the total population that is eligible to vote. So
yes.
There.
So it's okay if people disagree with us. That's fine. You can leave a comment, and we will.
I'm not trying to beat up on one person. And they're certainly entitled to their opinion, but as a factual thing, that's not true.
Well, and I was telling David that, for all of the, for the person who's the president of the United States to be so divisive and just condescending and mean-spirited, and, it's like you're supposed to be the president of the people, yet you are, want people to leave, you want, just all sorts of stuff that's happening. Plus all the money that is into the, lawsuits that have had to be filed to stop him, that adds up. All the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have lost their jobs. And it's like you're trying to create jobs that you walked in and you just took a hatchet and, tons of people lost their jobs.
One of my friends the other night said it was like they're just taking a wrecking ball to everything. And really, this isn't about being like conservative or liberal, because, I don't think that, at least in the past, this wasn't, destroying the government wasn't really, well, I suppose I should take that back. Wasn't it, who was it? Not Lee Atwater. Who was the guy, one of those people who said they wanted the government so small you could drown it in the bathtub. So I guess there have been conservatives who, in a sense, wanted to destroy the government, or they said so, but they didn't actually do it. Like they tried to gut certain departments and regulations and so forth. They didn't actually try to destroy it entirely.
Well, and we were talking on our walk today of like just, the people who are behind Trump, and especially Elon Musk and things like that, and their the Doge and all of their stuff they're doing. Whatever they find, even not even fact checking it, just writing to Donald Trump and saying like, guess what? And then Donald Trump gets on TV and goes, guess what? Guess what I found.
It is exactly like that. It's like this middle school thing or even elementary school thing where it's like listening to little kids. And I don't mean to say negative things about little kids, but it almost feels like that.
Well, and that's the problem, because then, he says it and then people believe that's the truth. Right. And then the people who are behind him say, see, Yeah, see what they did? They found this and everything.
Right, and the thing about, the reason I think why some people are so willing to believe him and believe everything he says, they want those things to be true, right?
Sure,
When
yes.
if a plane crashes and Trump says, oh, it's DEI, the pilot might have been a woman, he might not even know, but just assumes the pilot was a woman, the pilot was black or whatever, of course it's nonsense, and rational people say, well, what difference does it make if the pilot was a woman or was black or whatever, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. But the people who are receptive to that message are, like I say, receptive to that message. They want to hear that. They want to believe that. They want to believe that people are unqualified. My favorite thing is this insanity about Trump talking about, and Musk began it, where there are people who are supposedly 300 years old receiving, Social Security, or 150 years old receiving Social Security. And a couple of things. Number one, it's because they don't understand the actual platform that Social Security, the computer platform that Social Security Administration uses. They use COBOL. Granted, it's kind of older and out of date, and it's not necessarily something that these 20-plus-year-old kids who are working for Musk, it's probably not something they're real familiar with. But that's one of the reasons why it's showing people as a certain age, because it has a certain default year I don't understand all this, right? But there's an explanation for it. Anyway, so there is a computer-based explanation for it. And these kids, because they're not familiar with this system, don't even bother to say, well, gee, how could this be? Let's look into it and find out, is it really somebody who's 150 years old, or is it something about the way this unfamiliar computer system operates that seems to say something, but it probably doesn't mean that thing. And, normal...
2 seconds.
Yeah, normal rational people would do that. But the other funny thing about it is that, there's funeral directors saying, okay, hold on. When a person dies and the family comes to make funeral arrangements, one of the things we do is we send a form to the Social Security Administration telling that this person died. Number one, so that the Social Security Administration stops paying benefits to the decedent, but also it helps a survivor, like a spouse, apply for survivor benefits. They can't do that if the Social Security Administration doesn't know that the decedent died. So that's what funeral directors do. Now, how many people die without their body or their remains being handled by a funeral home? There's always going to be somebody who might fall off a cliff in the middle of nowhere or die in the wilderness, but the vast majority of people who die, the remains end up in a funeral home, no matter what the ultimate disposition is of the body, right? And the funeral director, part of their training is to fill out and send in that form. So it's even if you're a little confused by how things work, you could pick up the phone and find out. There's ways to get that information. But you've got these young, impetuous kids who don't know how older computer systems work, who don't,
They don't even probably know what Social Security is.
They probably don't know what Social Security is. They probably have never dealt with someone in their lives who passed away where they were actually responsible for dealing with that person's death. We've all been there. You've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of paperwork. The funeral directors ask you a lot of questions about the decedent because they know, and it makes sense. Who else is going to do that? You don't expect the surviving a spouse or family member to do that. They're dealing with everything else. Anyway, it doesn't happen. It's not happening. It's a lie. These kids don't understand COBOL. They don't understand what actually happens when a human being dies in this country. And so they come up with these ridiculous things. And like you say, it's exactly that. You know what? We
found it.
Found
some money. And that's the other thing that's unfortunate too for the people who are receptive to this, which is a great way to say that is, if there's a rumor going around that everyone's getting $8,000 checks, or everyone's getting a big refund no matter what, and it's coming. And so then I've seen a lot of parodies of people who know that obviously that's not happening, be like, we're getting it on February 30th. And people are like, perfect, you know.
Write that down.
So that's unfortunate too, because that's feeds into the frenzy of what he's doing, of trying to dismantle everything and claiming that everything is fraud. And look at all this money I've saved. Now I'm passing on to you, and it's not true.
And this is the thing that kills me, right? Like for the past several decades, we've been told that STEM is all that matters in education. Oh, we're going to fall behind people in China. We're going to fall behind people in this country, in that country. We've got to make sure our kids understand STEM, you know. And of course, they're not learning, from what I can tell, they're not learning a lot of science. They're learning technology. That seems to be the only real point of STEM education, is that kids learn a lot about computers. Which, you know, are very useful. We all use them in our lives, and it's good that kids are learning how to use them. But it's like learning how to use a hammer or learning how to use a frying pan. It's a tool. It's not in and of itself something that has academic value, okay? But the point is that we push STEM. That's the only thing that matters decade after decade after decade. And it's not just educators. It's not teachers and administrators, although they have bought into this framing. It's also public officials, it's parents, it's companies demanding that the schools focus on this so that they don't have to train their employees on how to use a computer when somebody shows up for their first day of work, whatever. I get it, and it's not necessarily wrong to want kids to know all that stuff. Although you got to do a better job teaching science, people. You really do, because we saw through the pandemic that the S part of STEM isn't getting through to people. But I digress. But the point is that, so now we got all these technologically knowledgeable young people going through every government department and you know, destroying everything. But one of the things that's happening is colleges and universities now don't know what to do because they don't know whether the research money is going to be there. So you waste all this time saying STEM, that's the only thing that matters. And now at the back end of that process, you know, like the University of Pittsburgh had to basically stop admitting PhD students or pausing their admissions process because they don't know if the money's going to be there for those students to do research.
Which comes from the federal government.
Yeah. If STEM is so important, then why would you allow these kids who are, you know, who grew up in the STEM environment to destroy university research programs?
It's crazy.
I mean, you know, it was so important that we had to destroy it. I don't know. And I gotta go off on this rant too, because it's been driving me nuts. So like their whole thing about immigration is there's a lot of people who came into the United States without the proper paperwork, right? You can call them illegal immigrants, but they're people who don't have the right documentation, right? Which means there are people who didn't jump through the right kind of administrative hoops to get here legally. But at the same time, these people under Elon Musk are doing everything they can to destroy the administrative state, to destroy all of the mechanisms of, you know, the way agencies function, the way bureaucracy works in this country. So on the one hand, a person who comes in here without getting, you know, going through the proper administrative processes, oh, they're demons, they're terrible people, we have to mass deport them. On the other hand, we're destroying all the way in which the government enforces rules and regulations. Like, if you don't care about rules and regulations, then why do you care if somebody came here from Guatemala without jumping through these kind of bureaucratic hoops? Bureaucracy either matters or it doesn't. The functioning of government either matters or it doesn't. But if you think it's more important to try to save a nickel here and a dime there than to have functioning agencies, functioning bureaucracies, functioning, you know, enforcement of regulations, then why the hell do you care that somebody came here from Guatemala to, you know, get a job and send some money home? Why? I mean, it's so insane. Like, oh no, those regulations matter. Why? That guy from Guatemala isn't hurting anybody.
Exactly.
Right? He's actually doing a hell of a lot more work than the corporate CEO who's paying you the pittance that you're getting paid.
Well, and then that's a good point they make, because, with all of the cuts that they're making, one of the biggest things they did was fire a bunch of people who work for the VA. And it's like, we have a close friend whose husband passed away.
Yep.
And she said that even just going through getting benefits or getting even help before when he was sick, months of paperwork and going back and forth to try to get answers, get help, get questions and everything. And now you've just eliminated that even more, where it's like, okay, well then how is somebody going to get help, if they actually need it?
They cut funding or suspended it because they don't really have the authority to cut it, but they stopped the funding for programs that were designed to, address veterans' suicide. Since before Iraq, but certainly since Iraq and Afghanistan, there have been a shocking number of combat veterans who've taken their own lives.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great organization called Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America that's spent a lot of time working on this problem, among others, helping veterans in a variety of ways. But finally, Congress some years ago started to recognize that mental health issues are really, really important. Now, I gotta say, I have to interrupt myself, because I'm not saying, I would never say, that, veterans are more likely to be, have forms of mental illness. I'm not trying to demonize veterans or try to make people wary of them or anything like that. But in the ordinary course, when people go through the kind of trauma that someone would go through when they're in combat, some of those people are going to need some help afterwards. And that there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't attend to those people, if you abandon them, or you make people jump through all kinds of bureaucratic hoops like this, some of those people may end up taking their own lives. And so Congress finally got around to trying to help and fund programs to help those folks. And one of the things that Musk's henchmen have done recently is to stop funding that effort. And I cannot imagine a more ghoulish thing to do. We sent these people over there. Politicians sent these people over there.
Yeah.
Many of us thought, I don't think this is such a great idea. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. But the politicians sent them over there. They sent other people's kids over there, people who just signed up because they honestly believed that it was the right thing to do to defend our country. And they sent them over into these wars that were unnecessary, maybe not entirely legal.
For too long.
For way too long. And some percentage of these kids came back with some problems. Okay, and again, it's not to demonize or try to make generalizations about veterans. That's going to happen in any war. Some people are going to come back without any kind of mental health issues as a result of it, and that's fine. But some people are going to. That's normal. That's what, you can't be surprised by that. And first, Congress ignored them for too long, and then finally got around to trying to help them. And now you're going to take that funding away? I mean, I just can't even wrap my head around that.
And that's the thing, is like they supposedly money that they're trying to save. It's like, do you actually realize like how much is actually spent on things and why? Just let's say education, why, whatever that dollar amount is, the reason why we do that is because X, Y, and Z, instead of saying like we're paying too much when you have no clue where that's going to. And especially I feel sorry for the people who have children with special needs, who need accommodations, who need, I have IEPs, who, constantly have to like get help for their children and are supposed to get help.
Yeah.
And then those people aren't there. I know for a fact, I have several friends of mine who are, assist kids in the classroom. Like they're in the classroom with them daily to help them with everything and all sorts of needs. And you want to take that away from people. And then you have to decide, what you want to do with your kids. The other thing, which also makes me mad too, is money going for adult homes for disabled. So people who can live on their own, but they live in a group home and everything, money for that isn't funded, is getting funded. And it's like, do you even realize that even exists? They probably don't. They probably don't even know that those places exist.
Right, and it's not to say that the government always spends money wisely, but even with the mistakes the government makes, and even with the waste that's there, the good far outweighs the bad when the government is trying to do things like fund education, fund homes for people who have different kinds of disabilities, provide benefits to our veterans, to protect the environment, all the things that are under attack. Those are programs, they may not be perfect. It may make sense to have someone take a very careful look at those things.
Not like pull the rug.
And ask some challenging questions. But this is nonsense. This is, as a friend said, taking a wrecking ball to the entire government and the entire process of trying to take our tax dollars and deliver services for them. And, that's the thing. It's our money, right? But we elect people to Congress. We elect the president who picks, department heads and all this kind of thing. We send them this money, but we also elect these folks and we say, okay, this is, you stand for this policy. This is how you want to spend my money. I'm going to vote for you because I agree with that. I want my money to go to that thing.
Right.
So it's not, they make it they act as though the government comes in the middle of the night, steals our money, we're not aware of it, and then goes and fritters it away on unnecessary things. No. This is part of a whole process. We pay our taxes, but we also vote and we support policies and we want the government to do certain things with the money they collect. And you're sort of running roughshod over all of it. Obviously, there's times when the government spends money that I don't like. I just said, I think we fought 2 wars over nearly 20 plus years that were really unnecessary. That was an extraordinarily expensive and wasteful thing to do. And thousands upon thousands of people died, and we flushed billions of dollars down the toilet, in my view, fighting wars we shouldn't have been fighting. But I would never say, well, let's just destroy the Department of Defense. Let's just defund the U.S. military. I know there's probably people after that experience who want to defund the military.
Right.
And I kind of understand where they're coming from, but I'm not one of them. You can't just say, well, maybe there's $1 here or there that went missing, so we need to, just gut the whole thing. It's mind-boggling. And this is part of the problem with the mentality of technology people and technology companies is, just react. Don't think, react. Attack, destroy, break things, and then
disrupt.
Yeah, right. And then say, oh, well, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do, so let's go back and rebuild that thing. But you don't have time to rebuild things when people's lives are shattered. The people who are going to lose out on those benefits now, they're not going to get them back. You can go back 6 months from now and start paying them what they always had coming. But, in the meantime, people will have lost their jobs, their homes, their livelihood. People will have died. So this is just utterly irresponsible behavior, whether you're liberal or conservative or whatever. It's utterly irresponsible behavior. We've got to start punishing impulsiveness, in my view, because that's what this is. This is, it's more. It's worse than that, but at a minimum, it's impulsive, and it's just not right.
And that's the thing that I can't stand is not only the impulsiveness of, cutting things like USAID, all of those people. I listen to NPR on the way to work sometimes, and they had a person who had worked there for 20 years. They're not paid a ton of money. No. They basically give their life to help other countries, and that's what they're there for, and that's what that is there. And and I think I want to say, and I could be wrong, and I'm gonna have to look this up, but a lot of those people didn't get any. It's just you're gone. It's like no severance or anything. So you've spent all that time in places giving and sacrificing, and helping people in poorer countries, try to survive and get better, and then it's just like that just means nothing. So and that's the hard part of just like the callousness of just like I don't care, that's something I don't want to do anymore. So you guys can't, you have to leave. And then, yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, they all need a good kick in the rear end. I mean, they do. Somebody needs to. I always joke about we need a John Taffer type person to go in there and knock some heads together. We joked about that the last time.
Yeah.
But it's really true is that, these are folks who by and large have never had to deal with reality. So, yes, they're ignorant about the way government works and they're selfish. Or how people live. They're selfish and they're spoiled. But right, I mean, they've just never had to face the real world that the rest of us live in every day. And I saw somebody, and I wish I could remember who. I apologize, I'm not going to give proper credit, but they described it as weird people who are mad about being weird, or are like uncomfortable with the fact that they're weird, and so they spend all their lives just sort of lashing out at everybody. And I think that's kind of right. I mean, these are people who, and look, there's good weirdness and there's bad weirdness, right? But these are people who are weird in a bad way, and
right.
They don't know, and they're mad about the fact that they're weird. Like they're mad that they're maladjusted and they don't fit in with the rest of us, and so they want to destroy everything. They're lashing out. Again, it's this impulsivity, and the way we think of technology in our society, we think that's a good thing. Because that's the way the nerds are. They break things and then they learn from their mistakes. Well, that's fine if you're, trying to figure out
a new program.
Yeah. Right? That's okay for software or something like that. It's the worst possible way to run a country.
Yeah, and all that little tiny money that they think they're saving is not even, a dent into a dent into a dent. So.
And what I was I lost my train of thought a minute ago. What I was going to say before about how they're spending our money is that one of the things that when Congress makes a decision about how to spend money, the president comes up with a budget, but Congress passes the budget and says we are going to spend X amount of dollars on this thing. That's the decision that the elected representatives made. That's how our government functions. Again, I don't like it all the time. I like it some of the time. I don't like it other times. But that's the deal. That's what the Constitution provides. That's the way the government works. That's the way the law works. There's a Supreme Court case is saying so. That decision has been made. No president or unelected official has the right to undo the decision that Congress made about spending that money.
Yeah.
It's that simple. That's the democratic process. And if Trump comes in and says, well, I'm the president, I'm going to override Congress. Nope, you don't get to do that. You don't make the law. The president doesn't make the law. Congress does. Congress made the law. One of the laws, or many of the laws, involve this is how we're going to spend this money. The president can't undo that.
See, now I think what should have happened during the debates is Kamala should have said to Trump, I'm going to give you a multiple choice question. Can the president do this? 1, A, B, or C? And then all of them could be wrong, whatever. And then just see how he answers that. And he would not be able to answer on a piece of paper because obviously he thinks he can make any decision.
He would have blamed. He would have just started screaming about transgender people.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it's a lot. We're still bitter about what's going on.
Yeah. We are still bitter. That should be the title of this episode.
Yes.
Yes, we're still bitter.
And I'm hoping over time, that it's just going to be a point where people just realize that it's just pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. Yeah. And the people who were for him are going to realize, hey, guess what? He doesn't care about how much your groceries cost or that you can take care of your family or any of these things. So it's going to take probably a little bit longer for those people to realize it. And it's unfortunate that it's taking this long or that they believe it in the first place. But anyway, I'm just hoping that a little bit over time, it's just going to be, people are just going to wake up.
but you make a good point. It's not that, Democrats are powerless or the rest of us are powerless, but it really is going, part of the solution, the long-term solution, has to be Republicans waking up to what's going on and coming to their senses. I'm not 100% sure how we accomplish that, but you know, we have to. Some of those folks, they're not all going to, but some of those folks are going to have to start to come to their senses. And we, you know, one thing that maybe is a little glimmer of hope is that there have been some of these, you know, sort of town hall meetings with Republican members of Congress, and some people are showing up and giving them a hard time. And you know, and some of those people aren't just Democrats who are showing up at a Republican's town hall. They're people who voted for this person or voted for Trump, and they're saying, now wait a minute, what's going to... So I you know, we can't necessarily sit back and just wait for that transformation. But on the other hand, we got to recognize, I think, that has to be part of it. Some of those folks are going to have to come around if we really want to sort all this stuff out, get our act together, and kind of start acting like a proper country again.
Yeah.
We used to be a country, a proper country.
And now look at
as the internet meme goes.
Right. So that's what we're gonna rant about today. So that is
we started out so good. We made it 17 and a half minutes.
We started out positive,
and then we went off the cliff. Good night,
okay.
everybody.
Yeah, that's okay. It's needed, and
this
once
is our
again,
therapy.
Yeah, I also want to ask again and let people know, be part of the conversation.
Yeah,
if you
really
feel like you don't have anybody in your life that you can talk to because they don't feel the same way, or have, you know, you've got people who are conservative in your area or around you, where your workplace, your family, and that's the worst too. If you got family that are the opposite of what you are. Anywho, you can always leave us a direct message on our Instagram at Jen_@Dave. And Dave underscore.
Let's try that again. This
Jen
is
underscore.
When I post, I'll post a little video on my Instagram where I'll mention that we recorded a new episode, and I'll put on the bottom of the screen, and we'll do that.
We will
put on the bottom of the screen the Instagram account. But of course, that doesn't work for people listening to the audio, so we'll say JENN Jen underscore and
AND underscore Dave.
I screwed it up though, because I said and instead of at.
Oh yeah. That's all right.
We're gonna cut it. We're gonna edit all this out.
Yeah.
Jen underscore and underscore Dave.
That's it.
That's it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
We're gonna cut this episode in about half. We're just gonna lap it off at the 25-minute mark, and we're done.
Calling it a day.
Yeah.
So if you made it this far, thank you.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you listening. And
even if you don't agree with us.
Yes. And we will see you on the next episode. Good night.
Good night.